going to do some loops with strings here. So we're going to know some stuff about strings, and we're learning loops now. So I'm going to use the for loop and the while loop with a string here. Show you kind of how each one goes here. So here's a string. A, these loops are cool. So let's just say I wanted to determine how many O's there are in the string. Okay. So if I want to go through, basically I want to go through each character in the string and determine if it's an O. And if it is, I'll add it to my counter. So that's create a counter. And then at the end of that loop, that would be how many times O occurred in the string. Okay. So I'll do that. First I'll create a counter to 0 there before I go into the loop. Now a for loop is useful for this. If I want to go through every character in a string, because I know the size of it, and I can start at index 0 because that's the index of the first character. And I can go to the last character, which is the period there. And it's always going to be whatever string you are, you're dealing with, length. Now, remember, it's very important. I have a strict inequality here because the length of this string starts at 1. Because it's just counting how many characters you have. The indices start at 0. So if you go equal to a dot length, if you do I is less than or equal to a dot length, when I is equal to a dot length, which would be really right here, after the period, you'll get out of bounds because there's no character at that index. So if you do the for loop, start at 0, go to the a dot length, but do strict inequality. If you want to do equal to, you're going to have to subtract away because that's the last index in the string. Okay? So, and this increment here. And I'm just going to see if a dot substring, which again, this is helping us use the method substring, is going to get a particular string. Now you can use a method called character at or char at, but it's going to be a character where a substring returns a string. It's just going to be a string of size 1. I would just say the benefit of using strings in this case is you're going to get tested on the AP exam about strings and not necessarily characters. So I'm going to get each character, and it's going to actually be a string of size 1. So it's going to be from I to I plus 1. Remember that substring does not include the upper bounds. It really ends up being the I character, or the I string, for every pass. And I'm going to check to see if it is equal to O. Now, I cannot do equals equals, because you can't compare strings with equals equals, or it will compare the addresses of those strings because the string is an object. If you want to compare to see if they're the same thing, you can do equals O, like that. Okay. Now, if you wanted to take out capital O's too, there's also a equals ignore case. You can do that. Okay. And what's going to happen if I encounter O's? I'm just going to increment count. So at the end of this for loop, I'll print out count, which will be 4. And now I'll show you what to do with the while loop. So print that out. 4. Okay, it occurred 4 times. Now, let's say I wanted to take the O's out of string A. Okay? So at number 1, I cannot change string A after it's been created because strings are immutable. You've probably already read about that. However, I can create A, or I can reassign A to be, or create another string, either one. Yeah, actually, this is going to be easier, even still with a for loop, because you can start with the hidden string and then just add the characters that are not O into the loop. Okay, so let's do what can I do with the while loop here? Okay, pause the video here and follow an example for a while loop. So basically, I'm just going to do the same exact thing as the for loop, but it's actually O, and it's not equal to -1, then that means O is in the loop, or in the string, somewhere. -1 is returned for index of if O is not in there. So what we're going to do is find the index of O, which we know is not -1. There is still an O in the string. And then basically we're just going to make A, remember the original string, become the substring before I, which by the way, remember I is not included here. So it's basically all the stuff before you got to the O. And then concatenate that with everything that came after the O. Now, O is just one character, so I can just add one to that. I don't have to think any further about how far I need to start. But this would just basically get rid of the O. So A is changed. After the first time, it would be take out this O, and it would be lots or full. And I would increment a counter, which I'll just create a second counter here. That would be okay. I took out an O. Now there's one less O. There should be 3 left. The count is 1. So then I will take out the next O, count become 2, and the last of those count become 3 and 4. So when I get out of the loop, count 2 should also be 4. Okay? So both of these are counting number of O's. The for loop, obviously more practical here, because it just increments count whenever it reaches an O, it gives it the whole list. The while loop, a little bit unorthodox here, but is taking out O's every time, and then as long as there's still an O in the loop, it will keep checking and keep taking them out and increment the count. So these should both be 4, since there are 4 O's in the loop. Yep. And that's how you can use loops with strings.